Down in the Dugout, powered by Scout Scoops.
Hello, and welcome to another edition of Down in the Dugout, the show that covers everything baseball and so much more. On tonight's show, we're discussing the much anticipated NextGen trailer reveal for MLB the Show 21 that dropped today. But first, as always, I'm your co-host, Bob Collars, and joining me is the other co-host, Scott Spindler. And also with us tonight is one of our favorites and our resident Pirates fan, friend of the program. You'll know him as Nutsy Poo. We know him as Logan. Welcome, gentlemen.
Hello.
Hey, Bob.
Thank you both for being on again tonight. We appreciate it. As always, we start each segment now or each show with a little segment called Around the Horn, where we talk about the going-ons of the world revolving around baseball and sports gaming and more. And so let's go ahead and do that. Logan, since you're a guest on the show a lot, but we're happy to have you. What's on your mind tonight, sir?
So, I mean, there's all sorts of stuff, right? We just started spring training. That's always an exciting time, especially as a Pirates fan this year, because we're seeing a lot of prospects up in spring training that maybe we might not get a chance to see for another year or two at the big league level. So the Pirates were on TV today for the first time against the Detroit Tigers, and being able to see Ke'Bryan Hayes out there, he makes great contact every time he touches the ball. I can't wait to watch him play. But then you have guys like Travis Swaggerty, who's going to be up in the league within the next couple of years. And the one I was the most excited about got to start today, O'Neal Cruz, who I hope he hits this year, but realistically, he's probably not going to hit until next year. But oh my Lord, is he massive. At 6'7", goodness, he is a big boy. It was fun to get to watch the Pirates finally on TV. Baseball is back. That's always, a lot of fun. It's a good time of year. We're past that NFL kind of drought after the Super Bowl. Pitchers and catchers reported, and now we're into spring training games. It's time for America's pastime. It's time for them to take over center stage for the next handful of months. And I can't wait, even though my Pirates are going to be very bad.
Well,
all right. Scott?
Well, I mean, I think Logan hit the nail on the head with that. I mean, it is exciting to see the Pirates. I mean, they obviously are going to have a rough year this year, but I do think that, Ke'Bryan Hayes is a special player. He's obviously going to be, a superstar in this league. That's my opinion anyway. I think most people's opinion of that. But it's funny because if you look at the odds, there was recent odds that came out on the National League Rookie of the Year. And the Pirates have two in the top 10. Ke'Bryan Hayes was the favorite at 4-1, and then O'Neal Cruz was 14-1. So that's kind of exciting as a Pirates fan to see two potential young players, who could be Rookie of the Year. So I mean, that just goes to show that the talent that they have in that organization. And I mean, it might be a rough year this year, but they.
Always.
Every time I start talking. Sorry, guys.
No, that's all. You're good, brother.
Yeah, I mean, along those same lines with O'Neal, I'm excited to see him play, but he's in an unfortunate situation right now, which, like, if any of you guys follow the Pirates, he's a shortstop. They have him playing middle infield right now. He is a 6'7" shortstop, which would make him the tallest shortstop in Major League Baseball history if he hits the majors as a shortstop. He struggled in the Caribbean League over the winter. He had 6 errors in like 15 games at shortstop. They need to decide to move him to right field. He is the natural replacement for Gregory Polanco when he gets shipped out at some point this year. Move him to right field right now. Let's be done with the O'Neal Cruz at shortstop.
What is your opinion on Cole Tucker? Where do you think he eventually ends up?
Cole Tucker it depends on whether or not his offense develops. Defensively, he is very good. He has the personality to be the face of a franchise. Like, he has
great guy.
Infectious personality.
Yep.
But his offense just hasn't been there, which makes me think that ultimately he's going to be like a utility guy. I think he's going to be able to play second,
He played at some
shortstop,
center field
third.
last year, and he moved around a lot, which is good. I mean, it gives him it's always nice to have those players that you can plug around in different positions throughout the season, because obviously there's the injuries are going to start to pile up at some point. And these guys haven't played a full season now in a couple of years, so it's going to be a season where I think a lot of players are going to get used. We were just talking about it before we came on, but it looks like the AAA season is going to get pushed back. It was originally supposed to start in April. It's looking like it's not going to start till May. So they're going to be using alternate sites again, which is, kind of expected, I guess. So you're talking a major league season is going to start early April. So for the first month, I would assume they'll be using the alternate sites just like they did last year. And, you'll have a handful of players there who will be, kind of fed to the major league team as they need them. But, some of these teams, I mean, from, just looking at some of the rosters and looking at some of the lineups and the rotations that are going to be going into the season, they're talking about the Rays might go with, 10 starting pitchers. It's going to be a crazy, crazy baseball season, especially early on until some of these guys get their arms, extended and they can start throwing some pitches. And so it should be a lot of fun to see how different these different teams approach it, I guess. I do think that there are some teams that'll probably stick to the standard, 5-man rotation, but then I think you'll get teams like the Rays, like I said, that will probably try some different things like they did a few years ago when they were going with the opener and all that kind of thing. So it should be a very interesting first couple months of the season, I would think.
Yeah, I think the Pirates are going to be another one of those teams that run a lot of starters. I think it's not going to be something that they want to do, but I think they want to get eyes on a lot of different people at a lot of different positions. So I wouldn't be surprised to see them use 6, 7, 8 starters throughout the first couple of months to kind of figure out what the rotation is going to be moving forward. Like I said, they're going to be a dumpster fire this year, but it's to be expected.
Yeah, it is. But that also makes them a good team to play in MLB the Show as well, right? Try to rebuild that franchise.
Yep, for sure. For sure. It's going to be that rebuild process. Woof. Year 2, year 3 is going to be a lot of fun. Year 1, 60 games. That's the hope.
Well, I did see you tweet out a graphic for your future franchise you'll be playing on MLB the Show 21. So that was kind of cool and kind of exciting. That was a really, really cool graphic, actually.
Yeah, big shout out to Crazy Coach for Crazy Coach Gaming on Twitter for any of you guys. But yeah, if you saw my Twitter, I tweeted out a graphic for our PS5 MLB the Show 21 franchise. We're naming it the Young Bucks. Nice. Very effective. The 3 players on it, you got Brian Reynolds, you got Mitch Keller, you got Ke'Bryan Hayes, the 3 players at the major league level right now that team's going to be building around. And the rebuild's going to be even more difficult than it was last year. So we'll see how it goes.
Very, very cool. Very cool.
And to follow up on what you guys were just talking about, same thing. MLB.TV has been on my TV constantly throughout the day. Even though the Cubs weren't on TV yesterday, I ended up watching some of the Yankees, a little bit of I think it was the Braves. Today I watched Cubs Kansas City. When I look at the Cubs, once again, I don't take anything in the first couple of weeks too serious in spring training. I think the Cubs are set in their position players. I really don't see much of a battle going on. But when I look at that starting rotation, that's where what you guys were talking about, it becomes very interesting. Obviously, with the Cubs, you're going to have Hendricks and Davies locked in at 1 or 2. Let's see what Arrieta brings back. You got who's going to fill out 4 and 5 right now. Some people will tell you Alec Mills. Some people will tell you Trevor Williams. You know all about him, Logan. And then you've got, if any of those guys get injured or faltered, you got Alzolay back down there. You've got Shelby Miller, Colin Ray, Tyson Miller, and even they might give Braylon Marquez a look. So that's what I'm looking at in spring training. For the first couple of weeks, these guys are just working on locations and spotting the ball and getting back into shape. And so it's not so much about the sport of baseball as what I'm seeing, going on and who's getting some time out there and who's making the most of that time. So,
yeah, I was looking at the Cubs myself and
yeah,
it's funny because I know we like to make fun of you a little bit with the Cubs and stuff like that.
Yeah,
And,
just
and
a little.
I'll be honest with you. I mean, the Cubs, I think, do have some opportunities. I mean, their pitching staff obviously has some holes in there,
Mhm.
but I mean, they do have some potential guys that if they hit on them, Marquez is one of them and Adelaide's another. Like those guys could be potential frontline starters. So it's one of those teams where, I mean, everybody's kind of saying, the Cardinals are going to win a division and the Brewers. And I think those two teams are obviously going to be there, but I wouldn't count the Cubs out yet. I think the Cubs have as a legit shot as anybody to contend in the division, at least for a few months, if they can hang in there. And then, who knows? I mean, Jake Odorizzi's still out there. I mean, nobody signed him. He's,
Right.
From what I'm hearing, he's, looking for a 3-year contract in the, $40-45 million range, which, a lot of teams aren't willing to bite on yet. And his best bet might be to hang around a little bit, wait a little bit till the season starts or gets closer to the season starts, seeing if a team gets an injury. And then, who knows? I mean, some team might be willing to give him that at that point, but he's a guy who could definitely help a contender. I thought, even from a Phillies perspective, he'd be a great addition to that team. The Twins again, all these teams that are maybe a pitcher away from having a very, very solid staff. There were some rumors about him going to Boston, some rumors about him going to obviously the Cardinals. I've heard some different things, but there are some options out there. And obviously if the Cubs could hang around till the All-Star break, and you never know. I mean, I do think the Cubs are going to have some issues, obviously, regarding Chris Bryant and, Javier Baez. And I mean, they had all these contracts that are coming due, and it's like that typical cycle of, it's time to pay the piper for the young players you had and the winning you did when they first came up, and it's going to be interesting to see how that all plays out. I think the best bet for the Cubs with Bryant is hopefully he starts off hot, and maybe they can end up, shipping him somewhere, getting a nice package back in return, while still contending. That would be, I think, the best case scenario for the Cubs. But it should be fun. Should be fun to see how it all works out.
Yeah. Oh, go
I
ahead.
was gonna say speaking of Chris Bryant, he's given me one of my 3 favorite moments so far of spring training. Chris Bryant hitting a nuke off of Arrieta made me so happy. That whole clip. I love Chris Bryant. I hate Jake Arrieta. That was easy. One of my favorite clips of spring training so far. Jazz Chisholm hitting an absolute moonshot to open spring training for the Marlins made me very excited. He's probably my favorite non-Pirate in the majors right now, mostly because I got to watch him when he was here in Missoula with the Osprey back in the day. So I love Jazz. And then my third clip.
By the way, Jazz is a big contributor to Scout Scoops from last year. He played in our tournament, was involved in a lot of things we did. So big shout out to Jazz. We we still root for you, and we support you in your run to an all-star with the Marlins.
Then it's neither here nor there. I lost out on one of his game used jerseys with the Osprey last week on a auction, but I'm not salty about that at all. And then my third clip is I hated Trevor Bauer, period. I hate him more in a Dodgers uniform. Like, he put on the blue and it accelerated my hatred of Trevor Bauer just exponentially. There's just something about that team that just makes me so frustrated.
I think we were having this conversation a few weeks ago when he had that whole online spat going on with Syndergaard and I think Stroman and Bauer obviously is super talented. He reminds me a lot of Curt Schilling. When Curt Schilling came up, it was like took him a couple years to really start finding himself and finding his stuff, and then he eventually did, and he ended up becoming a big time pitcher. Won a World Series and just tons of strikeouts. And Bauer reminds me of him pitching wise, a lot of this, his stuff. But he's one of those guys that no matter where he goes, he just seems to irk people, I guess you could say. He's full of talent. I love watching him pitch. But sometimes I think he just doesn't know when to stop or doesn't know when to shut up, I guess you could say. But hopefully he can just keep improving on the field and live up to the hype of the contract that he just signed.
And before we move on, I just want to say we were talking about teams we're watching, and can I just say what a difference that DJ LeMahieu makes in that Yankees lineup?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the guy just exhibits the essence of baseball. Now, while that sounds cliche, you've got a lineup that is really conducive to gap power and obviously home run power, and that's great. But they're big, bulky, although athletic. But DJ LeMahieu, watching him play, and I've watched him twice already, and even early on in spring training, he is really the catalyst to that. And I'm obviously I'm a Cubs fan, but I'm a baseball fan also, and I just love focusing on players like him. And I'm interested, as long as he can stay healthy this year. If he stays healthy, that lineup scares me. If he's out of that lineup, I'm not sure how dangerous that lineup is, and maybe you can pitch your way around that lineup a little bit. I mean, I really do, and that may sound a little ridiculous, but I think if DJ stays healthy, that team, if the pitching staff holds up, and I keep going back to this, that team is just scary. That whole American League East is scary.
The Yankees lineup is absolutely disgusting, top to bottom. Their pitching is always going to be whether or not that can hold them up for the rest of the year. Along those same lines, my regional team, the Seattle Mariners, are officially in the future, and being able to watch Kyle Lewis, Jared Kelenic, and Julio Rodriguez, all three in the outfield for spring training so far, that squad is going to be the Cubs from 2016 within the next 2 years. Like, there is just talent all the way up and down the roster. And if they can make them, the upper management changes necessary to make sure they can be successful, good Lord. Good Lanta.
They have to find a way to keep Kelenic, because the rumors are he's not real happy there right now. So that's going to be a huge piece for them, is finding a way to keep him happy and get him signed long term at some point. If he, obviously they think he's going to be the player everybody else thinks he's going to be. But yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, Julio, I mean, he hit some bombs. I mean, that guy's got some legit power. So they are, and I still love Evan White at first base. I still think he's a nice player. I think he's got some nice pop, really nice gloves. So they have a lot of young talent. So I agree. I think they're going to be, they're definitely going to be up there for the next few years. It's going to be fun to watch them.
Let me ask you both of you this. Your favorite team, got to take them out of the equation. You have the MLB package, but you only get 2 teams. You can watch those 2 teams all year long. Logan, who are you watching?
If I can watch 2 teams all year long.
Yep, Pirates not included.
I am taking San Diego just because I think they're going to be so much fun to watch this year. And then I want to say the Mariners, but I think that they're still a year away. So I think I'm going to say the Mets. I think that they're really, really intriguing. And honest to God, Francisco Lindor looks like he was made to wear the blue and orange. Like, he looks so good in that uniform. Hopefully they can, have a resurgence, because I think Major League Baseball is at its best when the Mets are high and the Yankees are high. When you have that rivalry across leagues in New York, I think Major League Baseball is at its peak.
Oh, good.
Scott, what about you?
I have to agree on one hand with the Padres. I think the Padres are just going to be so much fun to watch. I just think that they're just, not even the players at the major league level, but the farm system and the guys that they have that are so close, Mackenzie Gore. I mean, they're just loaded. And I just think that they're going to be a lot of fun to watch just from so many different perspectives. I mean, obviously, you got Tatis and Machado and, Cronenworth, and they're just loaded, and they got all these pitchers they brought in, and I still see them going to get another piece for their bullpen at some point. Who knows? I mean, there's a lot of rumors about Josh Hader eventually ended up there, which, I mean, you throw him at the back of that bullpen, that's a scary, scary team. But in the American League, there's a team that I think not a lot of people talk about that I think, not this year. I do think that this year they're going to hang around and they're going to give some teams trouble. But I'm kind of keeping a close eye on the Kansas City Royals. No, I like the Royals a lot. I like the Kansas City Royals. I think that they brought in, some key pieces. I do like Carlos Santana. I love the Andrew Benintendi move. And I love their farm system. They got some really good arms in that farm system. They're very close. They're a team that, in the next couple of years is going to, give a lot of teams trouble. That division is, I think, going to be turning from the Indians and Twins to the White Sox and Royals over the next couple seasons. I think you'll start to see those two teams fighting it out, for a while. I do love, like I said, I love their pitching. There's a guy in their bullpen that isn't really a household name that people don't know a lot about, I don't think, unless you're a Kansas City fan or you're a big baseball fan. But Josh Stallman, I mean, he's got some nasty stuff at that back end of that bullpen. And, he's probably not going to be their closer this year, or at least to start. I mean, I think Holland's going to close out, but he's nasty. I mean, have you guys got to see him pitch at all? Have you seen any of the stuff he has?
Is a battle royale sleeper in
Oh,
MLB
yeah?
the Show. He's so disgusting in MLB the Show because he's one of the few guys that has outlier. So he hits 102 consistently.
102,
on his
102
fastball. Oh my goodness, he is gross.
Yep. He's got an arm, and he's going to be a lights out closer at some point, and probably at some point this season, I would think. They got a lot of guys coming up in the system. Daniel Lynch and Asa Lacy, and they got Bobby Witt Jr. They got a lot of good players coming up, so they're going to be fun to watch. I would probably, be willing to check them out quite a bit if I had to pick a couple teams. So yeah, there's a lot of teams, man. There's so many teams that, being a baseball fan, you want to check out just because of different prospects on certain teams or guys coming up. But yeah, I think the Padres and Royals would be two fun teams to watch.
Yeah, I've got to agree with you on the Padres for reasons we've already talked about, but there is a team out in the East, and there's so many teams. You're right. There are a lot of teams out there that are just going to be flat out fun to watch this year. I think that's fact. Major League Baseball is in a good place right now between having young talent come up and start to display itself and having veterans of the game still there in their prime. But one team that I just am really excited about, and that is the Blue, and we've talked about it, and that's the Blue Jays. I love that lineup. It's young, it's energetic, it's got power. Don't care very much for the staff much. But you look at that lineup, and we talked about, you've got Bo, and you've got Lords, and you've got Vlad Jr., who's lost 42 pounds and looks amazing. Logan, I think it was you,
different person,
doesn't he? You brought him up, I believe it was a couple nights ago.
Yeah.
And they added Springer, and you've got Simeon, and is it Torres? I mean, I love that lineup. Now, while the staff may not hold up throughout the whole year, that lineup, if it stays healthy, I think is formidable. And that's why, and like I said, that's why I think the American League East is, it's tough to go right along with the National League East. So,
I agree. I agree. And they still have that Nate Pearson too. I mean, he's another guy that coming, with a nice big arm. He has a lot of potential. So yeah, the Blue Jays are right there. They're them and the Yankees, in the Rays in the East, that should be a fun, season to watch those three teams fight it out.
Yep, I agree. So, well, let's actually get started here on why we did this podcast tonight, gentlemen. Obviously, we talked a little bit earlier about it. SDS released the very first reveal trailer for MLB the Show 21 NextGen, a highly anticipated one that confirmed some of the things that we had suspicions on. Maybe didn't fill us in completely, so there's still some things that need to be filled in over the upcoming weeks, but it was enough to get excited. So let's go ahead and just take a look at this trailer. It's pretty short, just a couple minutes, but let's take a look, and then after we're done, let's talk about what we see.
Let's go!
Tatis, we did it. We've gone next gen. Next gen.
Wow, man. Wow.
Tatis, this is huge. I'm so excited, I don't even know what to do.
Whoa. Take it easy, coach. We're all excited. Why don't you tell me all about it?
The game is coming to PS5, Xbox Series X, and Xbox Series S, with cross-platform play to stun on your rivals.
We need to burn your excitement off. Do some jumping jacks. Go. 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 Don't stop. Come on, coach.
We've also added 3D audio, dual sense support, and 60 frames per second. What else? I'm not supposed to tell you, but here's a sneak peek. It's Stadium Creator!
How you feeling, buddy? Did you get it all out?
Just so excited.
It's good to get excited, coach.
Aren't you excited, Tatis?
Yeah. I mean, MLB the Show 21 is coming next-gen console. Let's go! Wow!
Next gen, we did it, Tatis. Turn off the fan, Tatis. Turn it off.
Come down, coach.
PlayStation.
All right, so there we go. Always a lot of fun. Love those trailers. Love Coach. But Logan, what's your first thoughts when you see that?
First thoughts are I am with you. Fernando Tatis's puppet and Coach's puppet are absolutely hilarious, and I love it so much. It reminds me of the old LeBron Kobe puppets that Nike used to have, which those commercials are still fantastic. As far as the trailer goes, the game looks beautiful. The game looks absolutely beautiful. Graphics are incredible. I'm curious to see what happens with the stadiums, because obviously we haven't seen a whole lot of graphics for, like, you know, the actual Major League Baseball stadiums and how that's going to change. But Fernando Tatis looked incredible in that trailer. Like, the hair, all of his accessories, like everything just looks so beautiful. And then as far as the stadium creator portion of it, which I'm really excited about as a franchise player, I am excited that the feature is back in, but I'm a little bit worried because we saw very, very limited things there. And one of the thing that's hard for me is what is going on outside of a stadium is almost as important as what's going on inside of a stadium in Major League Baseball. Like, why people believe that PNC might be the most beautiful park in America is because that backdrop you get over right field and center field when you're looking out of PNC. So if hopefully we can have more ability to change the backgrounds and that kind of stuff for stadiums. And if that's the case, it's going to be incredible. I can't wait to run franchises with relocation.
Scott, what about you? Concerns? Happy thoughts?
No, I mean, I'm super excited. I think I've said that before on one of the earlier pods when we talked about, the potential of what we were looking for, what we were hoping for this year. The trailer, I mean, the graphics, the hair, Tatis, the player model looked fantastic. I'm super excited about what the power of the PS5 can bring to this game. Having had the PS5 myself for, since launch, and gotten to see what it's done with, what 2K's done with it, and what Madden, and even FIFA to a certain level, what those games have done to it, or what the graphics of the PS5 have done with those games. You have to be excited about the show. MLB the Show always takes it to the next level, graphically, I would think, compared to some of these other games. And I just think that just the environments and just it just looks brighter and cleaner, and I think that's where you're really going to see it. Very similar to 2K. Just see the colors pop, and It's super exciting. I can't wait to see more features revealed, and I can't wait to see, the different things that, are announced. Obviously, we have the live streams starting, believe, next week on the 11th. So they start, so they're going every week until release, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, those things start up soon. So we're going to obviously get a lot of information during those. The stadium creator, again, like Logan said, very minimal information, but we got confirmation it's in NextGen only, which we kind of suspected. I think most people suspected that was probably going to be a NextGen feature. But yeah, it's super exciting. There's obviously a lot of questions. How does it work? Can you share the stadiums you create? Is it a single stadium in a franchise you're playing? Is it is it something different? So again, I think we still have a lot of questions, but I can't help to be excited. A couple other things from the trailer that I saw that I was super excited about was the 3D audio. I think that's super cool. Obviously I think that's going to be cool, especially with the I believe it said specific 3D headphones are required
Compatible
for
headphones,
compatible with it, which obviously I think that's going to make a huge difference if you have that specific headphone for it. The other thing that I thought was pretty cool is obviously the haptics. We know that the PS5 and the haptics is going to play a big part in, I think, that game. So that's exciting. It's just very, very cool to kind of see that trailer today. I wasn't expecting it. I don't know if you guys were expecting anything like that, but it was just kind of cool to see them finally put that out there. And the game's, I believe, 49 days away today.
Yep.
So we're very, very close to getting under that window of it's only a few weeks away. So it's going to be a lot of fun over the next 5 or 6 weeks, just getting getting information and getting to see what they reveal. I think every week we'll start to get some nuggets, and should be fun.
Yeah.
I was going to say along those same lines. One of the other things that they showed in the trailer is that it's going to be 4K 60 frames per second on both PS5 and Xbox Series S and X, and I think that that's huge, especially for the flow of the game and how good the game's going to look. But then the other thing I saw someone bring up on Twitter is I'm kind of curious to see how it gets implemented, or if it gets implemented online, because obviously MLB the Show is both cross-platform play and cross-generation play. So if you're only allowing Stadium Creator on PS5, Xbox Series S and X, how does that impact your ability to play online against someone who's on a PS4 or a Xbox One X or S? It's
a great question. It could mean it's something specific to franchise. It could mean it's specific to franchise and it's not going to be able to be used in Diamond Dynasty or another mode. I think that's the big question, is how it's implemented. So I'm sure we'll find out,
and I agree. That's what I was going to bring up, Logan, is how are they going to implement it? I got all excited because we all wanted this. Well, I shouldn't say we all, but there's a large contingency of the community that wanted it. And it's here, but you both pose very good questions, is how are they going to implement it, and where can it be used? And I think if we look at the stadiums they showed during the trailer, obviously there are a lot of shareable assets that we witnessed there. And Logan, you hit on it, and I thought it was a wonderful point, and very on point. And that's the MLB stadiums go beyond the walls, go beyond the stands. And you talked about, I've sat in PNC multiple times, and you find yourself gazing out there, out center field, out right field, out right field, and it's a beautiful backdrop. How are they going to implement that? Because if it's not done right, it really cheapens the creation tool as a whole. Would you agree?
Yeah, I would 100% agree, right? And it's not just PNC. PNC is the big example because I'm a Pirate fan, but every stadium is basically in a metropolitan area or metropolitan area. So when you look out, you see the city. You're not seeing very many major league stadiums out in the boonies. And then, I mean, then you have other questions too, is like, okay, well, what about stadiums on the water, right? Like you have AT&T out in San Francisco, or the proposed new stadium that the Oakland A's are going to be in within the next couple of years that the renders just came out. Like that's right on the water. How do you, like, are we going to have that potential? Like there's so many questions. And that's the hard part with these shorts, is like, they're such short, small tidbits of information. And for something as big as this, as Stadium Creator, something we've been asking for since MVP Baseball 07, like this is one of those modes that feels like it maybe should have waited until we could get full understanding of what's going on.
You know, I can buy into that. I always go back. I think it was it Triple Play 98 that had such an amazing stadium intro sequence before the game. Is that what it was? I think that's what it was. And I keep hoping that we'll see something similar to that. Now, the only issue with that is, and what I loved a lot about that, is it showed the surrounding area of each stadium as it flew in and played the music. And it is, especially on high pop flies and long home runs, places like Wrigley, and even PNC. And you mentioned it, Logan. It's not the 60s and 70s. We're not looking at the big A with just field behind it. We're not looking at Metropolitan Stadium with networks sitting out in the middle of the field. Every stadium is now engulfed by a metro feel. And so they need to be able to capture that. It's just, and if they can't, and if it's not done right, it really does. And I said it before, and I'll say it again, it cheapens the implementation of the creation tool. It just does. That doesn't mean they're not allowed to make mistakes year one. They are, of course. And it can be a sequence of improvements from year one to year two to year three. And I think no one would be upset with that. But they just need to be very careful, even in the genesis of this tool, of how it is implemented.
Yeah. I along those same lines, and I know we talked about this, you know, right before we went live on this podcast. I love Sony San Diego and I love MLB the Show, but if there's one thing I can nitpick about Sony San Diego, it's how they implement improvements and features into the game. They seem to kind of drip it in as the improvement is ready, rather than waiting for the improvement to be completely flushed out before they throw it in the game. And I mean, they took a lot of flack on it this year for franchise relocation, because right, they had this franchise relocation tool and it was awesome. The creation suite for jerseys was sweet. It was just like what we had in DD. But then when you load into a stadium and you see the Washington Nationals logo instead of your team's logo, like that's the kind of stuff that rubs a fan base the wrong way. And if they're not careful with something like this Stadium Creator, which so many people have wanted for so long, like that's the kind of thing that can rub a fan base the wrong way across it, like a broad spectrum. So
no, I definitely understand where you're coming from. I do think that there was a lot of features that, you know, in the past that you know, might have been limited because of the, you know, the power of the system, you know, and
Yeah.
you know, I do think now that we're on the PS5, I think, you know, I think it's a whole new world, you know. So you know I'm super excited to, you know, to see what next gen brings. I just, you know, just from playing some of the next gen, you know, games that I've, you know, played over the last few months, and you know, you have so many, you know, so many thoughts of, hey, just think of how cool it would be to see, you know, this implemented in MLB the Show, or, you know, if they go that route with it, or, you know, so it's very cool. I mean, obviously these next gen systems are super powerful compared to,
Right.
you know, the older generations that, you know, not even the older, but I guess the current generations. So I do think that we have a potential to see some huge, massive improvements over the next few years. You know, I think it'll be in steps. But I am excited to see what this year brings. I think we got a lot of good stuff to look forward to. And it was like, again, I you know, I was super excited to see that Stadium Creator in that trailer. I just think that, you know, it's going to add a whole other level to the franchise play in so many ways, you know, whether it's a regular franchise relocation or if you want to play a classic roster franchise or whatever it's going to be. There's just so many more options having a stadium creator. I think it's going to be great.
Right. And the one caveat to this, and I'm interested to see, once again, we keep talking about how it's implemented. And there's a lot of people who love the feature and they want to use created stadiums, but they may not be super excited about building those stadiums. So are these created stadiums going to be shareable? Are they going to be part of a vault? You know, I want to see that to me, that's a really important direction. I want to see how that goes. And that's why I'm excited, you know, for the next couple of weeks. And I'm not saying we're going to know more about it in the next couple of weeks, but you know, that's right at this juncture, all we can do is wait. But yeah, I want to see what direction the stadium creator goes in regards to being shareable. Is it going to have its own vault? Things of that nature.
One thing I will give constant credit to Sony San Diego for is that they do like large scale content creation so well. They do like crowdsource content creation better than maybe any other game on the market as far as sports games go. I mean, obviously, Scott, you can attest to it. There's a massive community of people making rosters for the DD guys or the, you know, relocation guys. There's just a ridiculously large vault of logos of any team that you could ever want. You could go out and find their logo and create their uniforms. So I'm hoping Sony San Diego sticks with it here on create a stadium, because if they do, you're talking about the potential of having a dedicated group of creators who all they will do is make stadiums, and you're talking about the ability to have any minor league stadium you want, any major league stadium you want throughout history. Like that the thought of that is absolutely incredible.
It's almost oh, go ahead. I was gonna say it's almost hard to wrap your head around. It really is. But go ahead, Scott.
It's not just like, I was just gonna, you know, kind of go off of what Logan said. It's super exciting. I mean, you know, there's so many talented creators out there, content creators, and you know, I just think the options and possibilities are endless. You know, so it's gonna be a lot of fun to see, you know, which way this goes. And you know, if it's not implemented specifically this year that way, then we'll see, you know, hopefully in the future generations or future, you know, not generations, but future, you know, versions of the game. But again, I mean, who knows? I mean, we'll see. I guess there's still so many questions that we don't have the answer to, but, you know, we'll start to get answers shortly as the live stream starts. So, you know, it's getting down to crunch time with it. So we'll find out more as we go.
Yeah, I agree. And obviously, when a new trailer drops, you know, we're going to be right here to cover it. We're going to do our best to cover it that night, kind of like what we've done tonight. So, but for this juncture, I think, unless there's anything else, I think we've done a decent job of covering that trailer. I know it brought some excitement, and it made things start to feel real, seeing the next gen. Yeah, absolutely. So once again, gentlemen, Scott, we want to thank you. Logan, thank you as always, sir. It's always an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. It really is. And,
thank you so much.
Oh,
yeah. Thanks, Logan, for jumping on and helping us out again as usual, and always being a part of all the stuff we do.
Absolutely. It's always a blast. Thank you, guys.
Absolutely. And for those of you listening at home or watching on YouTube, we want to thank you as always. We appreciate everything you guys do and being part of the community. If you do like what you hear and you do like what you see, please hit subscribe. And if you have any questions or you need anything addressed, hit us up on our social media pages, and we will do our absolute best to get those questions answered in some way, some shape, or some form. So, but unless there is anything else, gentlemen, I believe it is time for us to descend down to the dugout for one more week, and we will talk to you later. Thank you, and everybody have a great night.